All right, so this is a very special day for me. Again, I'm Tina Black, and so I'm actually the founder of the leadership clubs for all the Palmetto schools. We started this right after, during COVID, we started leadership clubs, and we've been inviting different guest speakers from all over the country. And so today I have with us an incredible guest speaker. Her name is Wendy Flores, and I want to tell you who she is. So she started on her Paul Mitchell journey in Paul Mitchell School, Houston in 2009. She
Yeah.
began working at the front desk, gradually advancing through roles in operation and then as a director.
Yeah.
She has an undergraduate degree in psychology and management. She pursued further education, earning an MBA in business administration with a concentration in management from the University of Houston. As a regional director, helping oversee schools in Houston, Clear Lake, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Madison, Austin, and Normal, my experience allows me a well-rounded outlook on all of these campuses. My life extends beyond the professional realm. I'm happily married to my husband, Brian. We both have our husbands are named Brian, so
Right.
that's fun. And all together, we're devoted parents to a 4-year-old daughter, Elise, and a 1-year-old son, Eli. In my cherished spare moments when I'm not with my kids, my passion for fitness and working out takes center stage, which I know that firsthand because we're the only ones pretty much in the gym at these Palm Mitchell events. So, but
Yes.
you look a lot better than I do, guys. So
No.
don't get too excited.
No,
Old lady here. Yeah,
not at
right.
all.
So,
Tina can kick
but
anybody's butt.
yeah. And the other fun fact, guess what? So Wendy's from Michigan.
Yes,
So
I
which is
am.
awesome. She has family there, but she lives in Houston now. So take it away, Wendy.
Yeah, thank you, Tina. That was such a great intro, and I appreciate you reading that. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I'm actually in Macomb right now. I'm in Michigan right now, so it's nice and cool up here. I did like the sun today, though. I like the cool weather doesn't bother me. It's just the gloomy days that can like get you really down, which I just came back from Florida over the weekend, so it's like complete night and day type of feel. I went to where was I? Miami, like the Miami area. So nice. Thank you, Tina, for inviting me. Thank you, girls and gentlemen. I don't know. Yeah, I see one. There's Sean.
Fun,
Um,
yay.
that got a chance that allowed me to be a part of this. So I'll share my screen really quick. Oh, let me get my screens ready. Let's see. Man, I just want to congratulate you guys on the ability to just push yourself to be a part of these clubs. I mean, it says a lot about you and who you are as future professionals and who you guys want to be as future leaders of whatever you decide to be, whether it's in a salon or as a just in the behind the chair. Anyone, we all need more leadership. So can you guys see my screen okay?
You're good.
Wonderful. All right. So as Tina mentioned, Tina kind of introduced me to John Maxwell. I remember she started talking about this at a summit a couple years ago, and I was so intrigued because I remember her telling us that she had just came back from a retreat. I think it was. I think was it in like Central America, Tina, that you went to?
Yeah, I went to Guatemala and then I also went to Costa Rica with the John Maxwell team. Yes.
Yes. And I remember her talking, and I was like, man, what is that? What could that be? And like so many things happen in my life, and I have 102 excuses as why I never really looked deeper into it. But I was very intrigued after her presentation, her talking about it. And then through COVID, I got reintroduced to John Maxwell. And then like everything just started clicking. And I'm sure all of you guys have heard so much about John Maxwell. So whenever Tina put in this amazing fundraising opportunity for us to do a John Maxwell training, which I just do the free stuff on YouTube, I was like, I'm jumping on. So thank you, Tina, for that. That was so helpful and beneficial to me. And I just sent her an email. I was like, that was awesome. The best fundraising money I've ever spent. And she was like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk to everyone about this. So thank you, Tina, again, for inviting me to this. All right. So I know you guys already heard a little bit about me, but this is my family. Like Tina mentioned, I got a chance to start with Paul Mitchell back in 2009. And I remember my aunt, she's actually my best friend from high school. We both went to high school here in Michigan and then moved together to Houston. She was like, Wendy, they're hiring at the front desk. I know you love cleaning. So the front desk is always like setting everything up, make sure that everything's beautiful. Like, just come and apply. You never know. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll have a couple of months during the summer before I start school again. It'll be my summer gig and I'll probably move on right after. Well, here I am 15 years later, still working at the school, and absolutely loving it. I think they've gone by so fast, honestly, but they've been so worth it. So like Tina mentioned, I help oversee 7 other schools, but honestly, the biggest the most humbling moment of leadership has been for me becoming a mom. So I don't know if any of you guys are moms, but these little kids, they teach you so much about leadership, and I think a little bit more pressure, just because as a mom, everything you do has a lifelong effect. So no pressure, but definitely worth it. So this is my little son. He's 1. His name is Eli and Elise.
Can't see your slides, Wendy.
Oh, you can't?
No.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Let's see.
Refresh.
Can you see it now?
Yep, we see it now.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it. It's not my first day on Zoom, I promise you that. So this is my little son, Eli, and my daughter, Elise, and my husband, Brian. And may I add that he was the one that told me to add the happily married. I was like, thank you. We are. He's like, we are happily married. I'm like, I know. It's so funny. All right. So John Maxwell, as you guys have already probably heard in the past, John Maxwell philosophy in leadership is that everything falls and rises on leaders. And during this training or this seminar, he mentioned that, when he was 25 years old, he found that to be a certainty, but at 50 or 75 years old, so in 50 years later, he knows it to be true. So, one of the things that really stuck out to me about this was, I go to U of H, the University of Houston a lot. I like to volunteer my time there with other students, just like you guys, that are just really interested in getting coached and getting some advice in the work world. And so a lot of the times, I go to the Bauer College, which is a business school at the university, and they're showing me their resumes, and a lot of them are graduating with management degrees. So, I'll ask them, like, so what do you want to do when you get out of the school? And most of them are like, well, I want to be a manager. And I don't laugh in a negative way. It's just like, I think that John Maxwell says it well, that in order to be a really good leader, you have to be a really good follower. So I always tell them, like, be okay not starting off at the top. It's actually probably, Tina, can you hear me?
I'm going to share my screen because your slides are not working. So I'm going to do it for you. I got you. There you go. Keep going. Oh, I think she just snapped out of it. Now we lost her, poor thing. There she goes. See how techie I am, you guys? You just, this old lady can be techie. She sent me her slides, so.
Oh, thank God I sent you the slides. I'm so sorry, guys.
I got you. I got it in PowerPoint
right.
format, so you're good to go.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. So, let me now get back to my slides. Sorry. So, they'll be talking to me about like wanting to start in the like managerial positions, and I always tell them, you want to start off at the bottom. It's okay to start off at the bottom, and it's okay to work your way up. And why I say that is because there's so much more pressure once you become a leader to make sure you have it right, that you want to give yourself that opportunity to really kind of learn from your mistakes, kind of as people are going to have a lot more grace for you, versus starting off right at the top. So let's see. Sorry, that kind of threw me off, Tina. I'm so sorry. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Yep, good skills and good values. So John Maxwell talks about this, talks about like, what is the biggest skill that you need as a leader? And the biggest thing is to do the connection between the good skills with good values. You help your people rise up. So with good skills and with good values, you help the people around you get better. Now, you could also have poor skills with good values. I think that happens a lot when you first start off. You have all the good intentions, but you just haven't practiced yet. So you really can't help your people. Then you have people that have good skills with poor values. And those are the people that really, John Maxwell said a joke on the presentation. He said, you just want to have lunch with these people. You don't want to be working under them, because they're the ones that are probably going to be looking for ways to manipulate you. So again, they're very conditional with their giving. And then poor skills with poor values, those are just people that you want to never lead you, right? They drag people down. They're very conditional with their they're unconditional with their giving, because they don't really give. They do a lot of taking. So he talked about that. And he also talked about how we want to make sure that the most important thing that we do is respect, right? As a leader, you will have many conversations with people where respect is at the center of the conversation, but you can have disagreements with one another. But the most important thing is that you don't disrespect one another. And it'll come with every conversation. I've had many conversations with other leaders, or even with people that I'm working with, team members that I'm leading, that they don't like to hear what I have to say. But the most important thing is that we don't disrespect each other. We value each other. We talk to each other with love. And that's the most important thing that, to me, is at the center of every conversation, even with some conversations that have honestly gone a little hostile. It's like, never disrespect each other. Always have, like, I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Tina, the presenter that it was a couple years ago that Wynn brought on, and her thing for us was, as people are talking to you, if at the back of your mind, all you're hearing in your head is, I care about you, I want the best for you. Even if you're not verbally saying it, they can kind of feel it. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah. People can feel your energy, so.
Yeah, they really can.
Yeah.
And they kind of understand when you're kind of BSing them too, right? Like, oh yeah, this doesn't feel genuine. It feels like you're just telling me what I want to hear.
Yeah.
So definitely, another thing to kind of keep in mind. So mature people have the ability to look at the perspective of others. He talked about collaboration versus confirmation bias. So I encourage, especially like now as you're young leaders, look for friends or teachers that are actually don't always, you always have that friend, you might be talking to him about an argument that you had with someone, and they're just giving you constantly affirmation that you're right, man. Like, that person messed up. You're right. And you never hear the opposite. Those are people that are usually pretty insecure with the way that they're giving you information. They just want to, you're looking for confirmation and they're giving it to you. You really want that friend or that teacher or that leader that really wants to collaborate with you, that allows you to, see things from a completely different perspective. That's the most important thing, because those are the real friends. I have a friend, I can call her up. She's not the director of the Houston school, Diana, and I can ask her, like, Diana, okay, so how did I sound after that coaching? Was I, sometimes I will invite her to coachings and she will give me like, oh yeah, Wendy, you were a little bit shorter with that person. You could have done this different. And man, it kind of hurts because I want to do things right, but it's probably the leader and friend that I need. So just one thing to keep in mind. So we can go to the next slide, Tina. Oh, there we go. You're already on it. We need high road leadership. So John Maxwell talks about high road leaders seeing the value in others, while in the middle road leaders, they're always seeking value from others. They keep score. The low road leaders devalue others. So they're constantly finding reasons on why I'm better than that person, or etc. And I think we've all worked with the person like that, or we've been around that person. They don't make you feel good. So if we can go to the next slide, we value people. So John Maxwell talked about this too on the training. He said, even the people that you don't like, understanding that, I've had situations, like I told you guys, like where I'm in a heated conversation with either a parent or, it's like, not that I don't necessarily like them, I just don't see eye to eye with them, but I do value their opinion. And I've learned through these last couple of years as a director that most of the time I have to hear to listen versus hear to respond. And that's been something that it's been hard for me, because I always want to give them a reason, but to just really kind of humble myself to know that I value that person, that they can tell whether or not I'm listening to them. And I just want them to feel it with my spirit, with my attitude, that I'm I'm really trying to look out for the best interest for that person, not for myself. Because ultimately, my job is to be a servant leader. So that means to serve people. And if you can go to the next slide, thank you. Okay, so John Maxwell brought this kind of image up, and he asked the people in the audience to kind of look at these practices, these best practices of high road leaders. And if you guys can take a look, take a picture of it, or do whatever you need with it. The one that really stuck out to me was the acknowledge people's humanness. And sometimes because I'm a little bit hard on myself, I've always kind of been that person. This one's more for myself, allowing myself to know that I'm not perfect and that I have the ability to mess up and to just kind of roll with the punches. I think that, even a couple, maybe a year or so ago, if the presentation wasn't really sharing, I would have kind of lost it then. But I realized I am human and mistakes happen and Zoom happens, and we're all kind of doing our best every single day, to just acknowledge, man, something went wrong, I'm going to fix it, or I'm going to roll with it, and it won't happen again. With people, now that I work with a lot of top level leaders in each school, I'm working with 7 different directors, I tell them, and I've told this to my management team when I was leading a school myself, you have the ability to mess up. Just don't make the same mistake. We can go through 3 different versions of this, right? Just don't do the same one. Not because I'm not saying like you don't have the right to, but just if we can avoid making the same bad mistake, more than once, but we learn from the first time, and then we apply some systems in place to make sure that they don't happen again, it could make us so much better. So a humanist on everyone, everybody has the right to mess up, and just kind of go through that, allow ourselves to be imperfect. And then the next slide. And that will just take, a little bit of emotional strength to see the good in everyone, to make sure that, that when you're around certain people, they make you feel bigger. I think Tina and I have been blessed to be around JP a lot, John Paul DeJoria. I remember I was the front desk leader, and it was a Monday back in the day. We didn't have school on Mondays, and I had just gone to pick up. Oh no, I'm sorry, I was in operations. I had just gone to pick up a bunch of stuff, like for a pancake breakfast. I'm running in with 10 different bags of HEB on each side, and I'm walking in and I see this Mercedes pull up, and it's JP, right? And I'm like, oh my God, JP's in my school. I look like a mess. I'm here like sweaty. Texas heat is a real thing. It's 110 degrees in the summer. And he just made you feel so special, so big around him. Like you were the only thing that really mattered. And I remember, can I do anything for you? And he just literally looked at me and said, all you can do is just be the best version of yourself today. Like, I just want to see that smile. So thank you. And, so that's the kind of leader that I'm lucky to work for. So, hanging around great people, helping other people see, that you can help them and they can help you. One of the things that kind of building up your emotional strength, I'll kind of give a testimony of my aunt, who was the one that got me the job, my best friend from high school. She had just started a salon, and I remember her telling me, so this was right out of the salon. She was like, they just partnered me up with the top producer in the salon. She was making a lot of money. She was fully booked 2 weeks out constantly. Like, it was repetitive. And I remember her telling me that, she didn't want to, like, I don't feel like I need to be her assistant. Like, not only is she not that, she's not really that nice. And I remember telling her, like, Jessica, work with her. Because even though she's not maybe necessarily nice to you, she has the skills that you want. And she's obviously making her guests feel special in some sort of way. Learn from that, pick up on that. And then you do that with your guests. Plus, whenever you're in her position, do that with people that are working with you, and see how that kind of changes. Like, you can take the best from everyone. Everybody has something good to share with you, and do it. And now, fast forward 15 years later, she has her own salon. She's living a really good life, thank God. And, she's just leaving her legacy for her kids that I'm sure she wanted. So anyway, maturity versus immaturity. And I think that all comes with emotional strength and building that. Lastly, and I'll be quiet, we're going to do the last 3 things to recap. So valuing people, not people that are just like you. Number 2, becoming a communicator that takes the high road. So helping others see their possibilities. And John Maxwell talked about 4 different questions to ask yourself before you communicate with people. Number 1, what do you want them to see? Number 2, what do you want them to know? And number 3, number 3, what do you want them to feel? And then lastly, what do you want them to do? So what's the action they're going to take after you talk to them? And asking yourself these 4 questions in every single one of the communications that you do can really help. And I've learned that, like, with every conversation, okay, so what's the action plan afterwards? What are we going to do right after? And it helps the person even know, okay, so what's my action plan? And they'll kind of start like naming some things off, and I'm happy for them because that means that they're working on something. And lastly, accountability. So close the gap between intentions and results. And John Maxwell said this on the call that really stuck out with me, and I have it in my notes. Like, we judge others by their results while we judge ourselves by our intentions. And I've been guilty of this myself. So the role of the high road leader is to close the gap and to really just allow ourselves to live in a little bit of stress. Stress is good. And to go through some battles because they help you lead to the higher roads. And that is all I have. Thank you, Tina.
Girl, that's so good. And I would love, because I want to stay on this just for a second. And then those of you who want to ask a question, just, raise your hand or get my attention. But this is so huge, because what I'm finding is, our team members in our salons, students, they really struggle with holding each other accountable to the standards with love.
Yeah.
So what advice could you give? Because I know, like, even myself, I'll go this road, like, you start to like not value people, and the sign of not valuing is when I start judging them and criticizing them to other people. So I start to gossip about people, and then I'm like, whoa, 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 that's not who you want to be. That's a low road leader, Tina. Take the high road, right?
Yeah.
And so instead of talking about them, talk to them with love. So talk about that. What advice would you give our staff members as well as our students, especially as they start to grow through this leadership journey?
I heard this once said, like, in Robin Sharma, I think that's how his last name is, but he talked about like having the conversations that kind of give you butterflies in your stomach. The ones that are like, oh, like, I don't really want to have this conversation. It doesn't make me really feel good, but I love this person enough to have it. And I think that that's what really comes at the center of it. Like, I really genuinely love the people I work with, every single one of them, even the ones that annoy me. And I'm sure I annoy them sometimes. Is I make myself feel a little bit uncomfortable, and I just have that straightforward conversation. I practice it sometimes, especially like if I know that it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, I'll have a like, hey, to someone neutral like my husband, I'm going to have this conversation today. Like, what do you think? Does that sound okay? And sometimes I'll just play it out in my head and I write out my thoughts, but it's just having it with the person that can make the change, not the other people. Yeah. Right. Sometimes we could practice with some. I wouldn't practice with 10 people, a conversation you're gonna have with one person, but because then that would be kind of gossipy. But if you have that one mentor in your life that can give you some dialogue, some coaching, like I mentioned myself, I have Diana, the director in Houston, who she tells me the honest truth. She really does. And she calls me out on things too, when it doesn't sound okay.
Yeah. And that's a true friend too.
Yeah. And the biggest compliment someone can give me is when they kind of call me out on the spot, like I had a conversation with a different director, and she texted me, she's like, hey, are you okay? Like, that was a little like short. Like, are you, and there's days I'm like, man, I didn't mean for it to come out that way. I apologize, but thank you for telling me, so that versus you telling someone else, like, thank you for coming to me. Because I think I've opened myself enough to be vulnerable with people and to really get that feedback with people.
Yeah. So good. Ab, do you have any questions? Since you're sitting right there, I can call on you. You always have something.
I do. I know. I'm a yapper.
Let's go. Do it, girl.
So I know, like, what is a way you could practice and be mindful of showing up with love with really difficult people that maybe don't want to resolve the situation?
Oh man, that's great.
Great
question. And that's happened to me quite a bit of times. I will be honest. Like, we've, especially as a leader, when you're giving people information that they may not want to hear. Right. Like, so I'll give you an example, kind of an old example, but I think we've all been there, and Tina, probably you too, with COVID, right? When we made the decision to enter, and at the root of so, and then there were, so we were like, hey, we have a COVID out, we had 2 cases today. And I would get like 10 emails from students and staff, like, you're putting me at risk. You know, why would you do this? X, Y, and Z. Like I have, you know, what I came to realize versus getting frustrated was at the center of that is fear. It's fear of like them thinking that I might not be taking care of them thinking that I'm just, you know, trying to put everybody at risk for the sake of the school. And ultimately, I was more thinking in my head and in my heart, genuinely, people want to continue their lives and they want to graduate. And even though we're going through something hard, they still want to see themselves out of this, you know, like they're wanting to see themselves at the salon. Yes, COVID still exists, but so what I would do then is I would allow them to have personal conversations with me versus going back and forth in a text exchange or an email exchange, or, you know, it's like, hey, come to my office. I would love to tell you, like, I want you to hear it from me and face to face, eye to eye. Like, I care about you. I want to see you succeed. What can I do to make you feel more comfortable while you're here? And we like kind of walked that journey together because we were all kind of navigating uncertain waters. And an example with like, you know, team members as well, especially the difficult ones. You know, there's some of my team members that really they find it hard to like let go of control. They want to they want to control everything. And I have to tell them, you know, like you can either be in control or you can have growth within your team, but you cannot have both. So you have to kind of let go of certain things in the school or in the world to be able to allow people to grow through that. Don't be so afraid of failure that it stops you from doing anything, you know? So I think that's some advice.
I love that you said that. And I think, you know, as we end this out, just the mere fact, if it's good news, you can text it or email it. But
Yes.
if it's bad news, pick up the dang phone.
Yes,
Do
absolutely.
not text when you're mad at somebody. That is the worst thing you can do. They're never going to pick up on what your true intentions are.
Oh no.
You know,
And
that
text
you-
messages are the worst. I'm sure you guys have all
So
like
hard.
sometimes I'll get a text message and all they're telling me is
Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, are they upset? Are they mad? You know?
Yep. Pick up
Yeah.
the phone so people can really feel your heart. So Ab, you hit the nail on the head. And I think that's a challenge that we have in our entire country. I don't care what generation you are. I find it, people my age, people older than me, young people, they cannot hold people accountable with love. They just don't know how. And that's really why we started these leadership clubs, so that you
Yeah.
could learn how and learn that dialogue. So practice makes perfect, right? And so make sure it's with someone that really has good intentions towards you. It's not going to join you in to the bashing of that client or the bashing of the staff member or the student, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Wendy, this is so needed. I'm going to make sure everyone gets this YouTube so they can watch this recording. And I know they're all going to say the same thing. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, everyone. I hope that this is beneficial and add some type of value. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, bye. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.